Hello, hello.
This is a podcast, girls.
And the city. You are welcomed by your two lovely co-hosts, me, Susanna, whose favorite color is white. That apparently, according to Liz, is a fun fact about me.
Because it's no one's favorite color. Whose
That's
favorite color
not
is
true.
white? Whatever.
Fine.
Um, anyways, and me, Elizabeth, who's probably always like knitting in the background, but don't mind me.
That's so true. But that's very practical.
I think it is. I'm still
I love
making a
it.
scarf. It's been making since the summer. But anyways, with our podcast, each week we'll discuss an episode of Sex and the City, answer and reflect on the main questions asked in the episode, share personal experiences, giving it a modern twist. All
You,
right,
you
Susanna,
have
how
a
are
good
you?
rhythm. It sounds like a
Oh,
song.
I'm trying to be a little more peppy with a steppy. Uh,
No clue what you meant, but
all right,
okay.
good stuff. Yeah, give me a rundown of your week. What happened?
What happened? So, I mentioned last week that I have had this reflection time. So, I started last weekend pretty much, and this week I was going through it, writing things down. Wrote down, I think, 4 pages of A4
Wow.
format, but it was very helpful. I'm happy that I did that, and I didn't wrote down like goals for 2025, what I want to achieve, but also generally like what makes me happy, what I want from life. And I feel more aligned with myself again. I also found out that I wrote down some aspirations back in May about where I want to be or like how I want my life to look like. And
Mhm.
it was fun to read through it and see, to what extent I still feel that it's true. And also something, to remember again that, oh, that's true actually. Very good point that I made about something a few months ago. So
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. Now I just need to put things in practice, which is a little bit more difficult part. Um,
Yeah.
but I am, I need to start. The hardest part is starting. And no, I think consistency is the hardest part, not starting.
Both. Both. Honestly, it's like starting and then making sure you keep on starting.
And then, realizing that the only person that can really take care of you and change your life is you. I mean, I love it, but at the same time, I'm like, can someone do it instead of me? I just want to be like a cat lying on the
I think they
couch all day
skip
and
that. Like
sleeping.
when you're like raised in school or like your parents, they don't mention that. They fail to.
What do you mean? Like, you have to take care of
That like in
yourself.
adulting, like the only person that's gonna make things happen is you. Like
Yeah.
what?
I'm so like I don't like that. I mean, it's great because you have all the control and freedom to do whatever you want, but it's also because of that I don't like it.
No, I get that. I get that.
But no,
Wow.
so basically that work, we are working people full time. So that's just a blend for me pretty much. And then I went for a birthday party on Friday of a very good friend of mine. It was so lovely. There were just like a lot of very genuine people, like a lot of them I met for the first time, but somehow this friend of mine just attracts very cool people or nice. So like
Love
anyone I
that.
met, it just clicked immediately. I had a great time. We did a lot of like wigs, funny colors, glasses, and the theme was um. Yeah, let me read it. It was Slutty Witch edition.
What a fun theme.
So I, dressed up a little bit. It was yeah, very cool. I came home in the morning and
In the
then didn't
AM.
do didn't do anything on Saturday, of course, just like surviving. I didn't drink much, but still, didn't sleep well. And today, because I didn't do anything on Saturday, I had to do the house chores. Wow, what a what a boring adult I'm becoming. No, but you know what I did? So one of the
Productive
goals
adult.
for 2025 for me is
Yeah.
build a community of friends, in London a little bit more. And like specifically genuine, not just like acquaintance of mine that I met twice, but like seriously, that I feel I have a lot of people that, I really want to meet on a
Yeah.
regular basis. So I signed up for this app called Time Left. Have you heard about that?
No, what is it?
I'm pretty sure it's in the US actually as well. The concept is you sign up for around like a dinner which you can choose a
Oh,
date. You can choose, like in London, you can choose
okay.
area,
Yeah,
budget, and then this app will randomly, based on, you have to answer some questions about yourself, and then the algorithm of this app matches you with other people who also want to do that. It's nothing to do with dating. I think it's a
yeah,
group of 5 to 7 people, and it's just about meeting new people. And then I don't know where the dinner will be. I just selected the area. You will get the location the day before, and then throughout the night, the app will be sending you like different things. I think there is a game, and there's like a bar that it recommends afterwards if the group feels like it, or you just don't
yeah,
have to go. So sounds like I've read a little bit about it also, and I've seen mostly positive reviews about the
yeah.
experience. So I sign up, and I will give you some more feed
Let
on
me know.
it
That sounds
next
like a really cool
weekend.
concept. Yeah, interesting. It's not product placement, you guys, but we're still just curious about this.
No, I think like it's just another way of meeting people. I was also supposed to go for this startup people run on Saturday morning.
A run,
Yes, I mean I do like running, but it was after the
like a
party,
run
so
club.
no. So run club is something different, but this is just like when you have a meetup or Luma.
Yeah,
These
yeah, yeah.
are the events, but it's mostly work, I think, oriented. And I
Oh, okay.
look up for like AI events or like startup
Yeah,
events
yeah,
in
yeah.
London, and one of that was just people who work in startups or tech, but they would do a run in the morning. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I like running. I don't think I want to join a running club because as much as it's apparently a really good way to meet people as well in London, I just hate running with people.
Yeah. The
Like
giant
I felt
crowds are crazy.
yeah. Also, like I saw some running groups along the city, and I'm like, nah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think I would enjoy it, to be honest. But this was like, okay, it's a one-time activity. I don't have to go every day. I don't have to pay for it. Maybe it will be cool, and everyone would be working in tech or startups in some way. So I signed
yeah.
up, but obviously the night before I went out. So I kind of knew I would probably not make it because it was on the other side of the city also. So I
Next
didn't,
time.
but
Next
yeah,
time.
I hope there's like another one, and I will
Yeah.
go hopefully.
Interesting. Yeah, these things are super cool. I miss London so much for these kinds of things. I gotta find some in
Girl,
DC,
you have to
honestly.
come. You will
I
probably
will.
no, you will
Ugh.
earn less, but there are other
Yeah. No, but
benefits.
even speaking of like good salaries in the US, so something happened to me this week. So my lease is up for renewal, my apartment, because I've been here for a little bit over a year.
No,
And
is it
I
already a
thought
year?
it's been over a year. Yeah, it's been like,
Jesus, it's going
yeah, I know,
fast.
it's crazy. But basically, and you know how usually the rent increase is like, I don't know, 10%, $100 a month, whatever. They increased it by $700 a month. And I was like, guys, like,
Wait,
that's
a month?
outrageous. A
A
month. So
month?
it's like a, yeah. And I was like, you guys are insane. And so this week,
Wow.
because the funny thing is like, my lease runs out the first week of March, but I'm away in Europe for like 3 weeks, right? So I don't like have time to like find a place or move like in a
Mm-hmm.
normal fashion. So this week I had a bit of a panic moment being like, oh my God, I gotta find a place to live and like pack things up and move by the time I get back. So I was just, this is fun. So obviously my first reaction was to go out on a Friday night to, forget about
Right.
that.
Why not? Why not postpone this problem if I can?
Yeah, it's like let's pause adulting for a second.
No,
Let's
but some,
breathe.
that is usually, by the way, the best thing you can do is take some time, step back,
Process
and
it. Yeah.
address it the next day again.
That's exactly what I did. So I went out, yeah, on Friday with my friends. It was great. We had a really fun time. We went to like a bar with live music, which we always love to do. And then the next day, after we woke up and like got enough sleep, my friends and I sat at a coffee shop. So one of my friends was applying for jobs. The other one was actually doing work. I don't know why she's doing work on the weekends, but whatever. So was her boyfriend, which was funny. I was like, you workaholics. And then I was looking for apartments and trying to schedule viewings. And I was talking to my friend who's the lawyer. He's like, well, you're technically working. Like, you're working from home. So it's, you're finding yourself a new office. And I was like, you're so right. But yeah, so this next week, and I meant to be going to Europe on Thursday. So I lined up in between work, my workouts, and everything else. I have apartment viewings. So I have like
Damn,
six this week, and I did one this morning. So we're on a mission to find a new place to live that is
damn
not
it.
going to cost me
That's
like half my salary.
busy. Busy.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was my week. What else happened?
How was the viewing?
The viewing was good. I mean, it's still like the place is ironically smaller than my current one. It's still a one bed, but it's just a little bit more expensive than what I pay now. But the area is really cute. It's in Alexandria, which is an old towny vibe. Um, so it's a nice spot. I would consider it, but I just want to look at other places as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
are they like how competitive the market is in Washington?
the thing is, there's a really fine line between something that was built in the 80s and 90s and they've not renovated it. It's that stuff is like normally priced. And then stuff that's like more modern, built in like 2016, 2020, in that era. And that's a little bit more higher end and more expensive, obviously. So, but
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing in between. So like that's the thing is like, I would love to like rent out, I don't know, a small like one or two bedroom that's gonna be cheap, but like then it's really old. And so it's competitive, but it's not as bad as London, I would say. There are more options than there are in London at a given point. Because I remember coming to London in August, September time, and you're literally scramming. There's four or five people that have
And
already put in
everything is
applications.
expensive and it's still crap.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And it likely will not have some of the like it won't have air conditioning, for example. I
Oh
remember
no, I
like
mean
finding
like that
places in
is
London.
if you know, if that's the only problem, it's perfect place.
I don't know about that. London is like it doesn't get that hot, but sometimes in the summer it will get pretty hot. I remember
I
that.
know. I am kind of thinking about how I will how the summer in the place I live currently be because also my
Yeah,
window can only open,
just a tiny
like
bit.
that and I
Yeah,
cannot fully open it and
yeah.
there's no AC here and already now it's something I don't know what the hell is with the heating. We would put it down to 5 degrees and it still would be quite warm.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not too
And
cold because sometimes it's the opposite problem in London. It's like the
yeah,
windows
true.
are not double sealed or something like that, and like
No,
it's
like
cold.
I cannot live in crappy old house that is like
Yeah.
that, which is more like
But that's the thing in
West London.
yeah, West London, it's like a little more Victorian traditional. When I lived in even in North London, I used to have a mold problem, and that's quite common in London too. And I just
Oh my
like
god, like
it's
housing in London is honestly I have never
it's such a
been
mess.
to worse place in terms of house prices and
Yeah.
conditions than London.
And the market is so competitive, so they're like not
Yeah.
incentivized to make it better in any way. They're so you don't want it, somebody else will.
Yeah, like
Um,
I know that there. Okay, let's no. This is a podcast about Sex in the City. Let's not talk about
well,
London.
it's also girls living in the city and like girly problems.
So okay, well then I will say it quickly. There are like two things which I really, really hate. So a lot of times the houses would not even go on the market and the agent would just call you being like, oh, this house just got out. Like you need to visit it right now or it's gonna be gone. Everyone who is looking for an apartment would tell me like it's a full-time job. Like they would call, like the agent would call me like, you need to, like, when can you come for the viewing? Like 11, 12. And I'm
You
like,
have
I'm
to befriend the
working.
agents. You have
Yeah,
to
like,
befriend the agents. You're not
yeah,
gonna
I
find it
know.
online ever. Like
But
that's the
like,
thing.
who has time to go in the middle of the day? To see
Yeah.
an apartment that is a 5% chance you will get anyway. So like that's one thing, and the second thing is the competition that you mentioned is so high that I was talking to one guy who was like, so I got this place which was like great, and they told me that because you're single and you have a good job in finance, that's why we got it because we would prioritize you over a couple, for example,
Right,
because
or
the
students.
of course, but students, but even the couple that would prioritize a single person that would be living in that apartment
Yeah,
because the utilization of the apartment will be less. And I'm like, that is crazy.
that is
If you
crazy.
are
Yeah.
thinking about this stuff already, I mean, I get it some point, but like I hate it.
It's
Like imagine
true.
that by being couple, you're already disadvantaged.
No,
It's not
it's true.
about
And
money.
people
It's just like because you're a
before
couple.
yeah, before 2020, it's also they had a law because I have a dog, right? They didn't
Uh,
have the law. They used to like decline the apartments because they're like, oh, we'll take someone who doesn't have a dog over you because they're like it might damage stuff. I'm like, my dog is a kilo and a half. Let's calm down. But then they had a law that they passed. The landlords cannot deny you housing just because you have a pet. Um,
Really?
they no longer
No.
can. Like the building, there has to be a law like where the building doesn't allow, but if the building allows it, the landlord can't say no,
Okay,
which is
because
nice. Before they did, used to, yeah, they used to be rude
I
about it.
definitely have in my contract that there are no pets allowed, but I can't
You
say
can get
whether
it
it's
amended. You can get it amended.
well, I don't know if that's a building thing though, because in
If
East
it's a building
Village,
thing, that's harder
in
to
East
do.
Village, everything is owned by Get Living. It's a little bit weird
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah, you don't know? Like you
Oh.
used to
No,
live
I mean,
here.
I lived like in a different part of it. Like I lived on the other side of the Olympic Park. So it was like a different um building, but like all the apartments in my building were all privately owned, but it was not like a
Okay.
development that owned it. Yeah, so that's completely different. Interesting. But
Well,
anyways, we
anyway,
digress. Back to the episode.
yeah, let's go back to 90s and
The
problems of
2000s.
no, I think
I
this
mean
is
these
still
problems are still
90s.
relevant. We're still in the 90s. Okay. We're on episode 12. We're actually in the last episode of the season. Congrats, we made
Season
it.
1. Woo!
Woo! Kind of sad because this one's I think one of the more genuine episodes. Like, it's a very fresh, very raw.
It's also like the end of the season will make some quite big endings, and this one particularly is quite sad.
Yeah,
I felt so sorry for Carrie.
it was a bit rough. Um, what beverage do you have today?
Oh,
Oh, water. Okay. I
I
got these
didn't.
like poppy things. So,
What
not
do you mean
again product
poppy?
placement. These are like these soda things in the US. They're called poppy. They're really good and they're like not bad for you. But it's so bad that I even got like a sweatshirt from the brand because I'm a hoe for marketing. Anyways,
I
it's not
never
product
understood
placement,
this.
but
I never understood this merch stuff that the brands would do. Like, I was like, who would buy this stuff? Like, I like the drink, but I would never
I
buy a
am
hoodie.
such a hoe for that stuff.
No, like you know what I have in my fridge. I don't have it here because if I would have it here, I
Yeah,
would like drink the whole bottle. There's this kombucha brand in Europe that is really really good. And when I used to live in Germany, and also in Slovakia, they just like sell it in one particular place, and I would always buy
yeah,
it. It's the best kombucha ever. And
that's
I
awesome. You gotta
didn't,
send it to me because I'm going to Berlin.
yeah, and I didn't find it in the UK, so there would be different brands, but those
Hmm.
that still that one is the best. And I went to Holland and Barrett today. Not only they are selling that brand, but they are selling the big bottles, like the big ones, which it's a recent
Yeah,
thing. And I'm like, oh my god,
in bulk.
I am
I like it.
taking that, even if it's costing too much
It's
money.
fine. It's
I'm
fine.
taking it. I already drank a bit, and I need to like, you know, keep myself a little bit restricted because I can literally drink the whole thing in once. It's
Fair,
so good.
fair, fair.
I will
That's
send you the
awesome.
picture.
I love it.
Anyway,
Yeah. Anyways, back to the episode. Yeah, the episode's called "Oh Come All Ye Faithful." A very religious entry into the scene. I'm giving the summary of this one, right? Or are you? I forgot about this now. It's my turn.
yes,
Oh, okay, fine, cool, cool, cool.
I think
Anyways, we
so.
have like a couple parallel stories of Miranda is dating a playwright. It seems like they have a great sex life, but then every single time they have sex, he has to have a shower, and it's not like can we cuddle in bed? No, it's like immediately the moment they're done, he's out of bed and into the shower. So basically, she talks about it with the girls, discusses it, and they're like, that's kind of weird. But then she thinks that, yeah, it's connected to the religious side of things because he opens up to her being, the nuns told me it's a sin. So basically, he's getting rechristened every single time, which is an interesting way to look at it.
Or a very clear sign that you need to go through therapy.
Yeah, or like go figure yourself out and your relationship with God, please. Don't bring the girls into it. Yeah, and then just we kind of bring up the question of how often do people even talk about religious backgrounds? Is it something people bring up on dates? How does that manifest itself into the relationship? And so then we also have the story of Carrie seeing Mr. Big at church. And then she's like, I didn't even think about this side of him. I didn't realize he was religious. And eventually he tells her that, yeah, he goes to church with his mother every single Sunday. And then Carrie becomes obsessed with the idea of going to church and meeting his mother. So it's such a Carrie thing to do of like, I must know everything and meet everyone because why has he not introduced me? Because we've been together for so long and, I should be in every part of his life.
I mean,
Um,
like you know, I think, as I said, I feel sorry for Carrie in this episode, but it gave me ick a few times. I sometimes feel like have some self-respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean, what ends up happening is the
Tell
following
us.
Sunday, she ends up taking Miranda with her. They go to that
No, no,
same
no. Well, you
church.
forgot though. Like he
Which
explicitly
part?
told her that she should
Oh,
not come because this thing
yeah.
that
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
does with his
That's
mother.
right. That's correct. Yeah. So she's like, "Hey, can I join you guys next time?" And he's kind of uncomfortable about it. He's like, it's not a good idea. And it makes it sound like it's not that it's important to him, it's important to his mother that this is something that they do. Like this is their ritual. This is how like they maintain their relationship. And so like it's something that's like sacred between the two of them. So obviously Carrie decides that she wants to insert herself into that, even though she was told not to. And yeah, so she takes Miranda the following Sunday. They show up in church. They go above where they're not mingling with Mr. Big, but they can still kind of see him and his mother during the church
Opening?
event, the opening,
I
I
think it
guess.
was the like. Have you ever been to a church? You've
I
been, right?
have, but the churches I go are different. I'm not like Catholic or whatever.
I mean,
I
like
don't
it
know
was
what it was.
the
I think it was
start of
Presbyterian.
the. Yeah, it was. Which I don't know what it
The
means, to be honest.
start of the sermon, whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and so they all get up, and then Carrie knocks over a Bible that very loudly falls onto the floor of a very quiet church with what looks like there is at least like 500 people in there. It's a big church. And so everyone looks at Carrie, and then Mr. Big realizes she's there. And he's,
It feels so humiliating. I
I
would
would
run.
hide.
I
I would
would
hide.
run. Or that, yeah. Like I would run. I would like, oh crap, he saw me. I would want to be here. But she has a completely different reaction, which is why I was like, I feel
Yeah,
so uncomfortable.
it was so bad.
So
Anywho,
tell us
and
what
so
happened.
so then she goes downstairs. She's like, "Oh, I have to go talk to them." So she then interacts with Mr. Big and his mother, and then Mr. Big introduces her as his friend, Carrie. And so she feels super uncomfortable. The mother feels uncomfortable because she's like, "Who is this girl? Like, I don't really care about you." And it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go talk to the bishop." And Carrie then gets upset. She's like, "Oh, you introduced me as your friend." And then they have this whole thing about it, and eventually
I
they
wrote
don't
down
really.
exactly what he says because I think it
Okay,
was also very hurt. I
put
mean,
your quote in.
yeah, it was painful to watch. So he said, "My mother doesn't need to meet another girlfriend. I will introduce you as a girlfriend when I'm sure. I need more time, basically."
Yeah, yeah. Which is like it's a hurtful thing to say, but I think he was frustrated with her doing this because he told her not to. But yeah, it was kind of a hurtful thing to say. Anywho, then they decide that they're going on a trip. And then at the very end, Carrie is like, "I'm not the one. He's not the one. I don't want to carry on with this," basically, kind of thing. And so she was
Well,
very hurt by this because he
she
didn't say he
asked
loved her,
him.
right?
She asked him, "I need some kind of sign before I go. Tell me I am the
Yeah,
one."
right.
And he says nothing.
Yeah, which puts a lot of pressure on him, I guess. We'll
It
discuss it.
definitely
Anyway,
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have also in the parallel side of things, obviously Miranda's due just kind of they're done because they got a little spicy fight in terms of her calling him out for it, being like it's actually not a bad thing to be having sex. And then he's like, "Oh wow, you've cured all of my scary thoughts." And then we also have Samantha, who for the first time is doing the exact opposite. She met a guy at a jazz club, which is kind of cool. I've never gone to a jazz club alone, but I love a jazz club. But yeah, anyway, she meets a guy who's seemingly so perfect. She doesn't sleep with him on the first night. Neither does she sleep on him. And she like actually wants to get to properly know him, and then eventually they do get around to like being intimate. And then she finds out he has a micro penis, and she's very disappointed. And she's like, "I'm."
Such a Samantha problem also. I
She's like,
mean,
"The guy is so great, but like, she's like, what am I gonna do?" Yeah, that's pretty much high level. I'm trying to think
you
if there's
forgot
anything else.
Charlotte. Charlotte is having a big dilemma also.
Which one is this one? I'm trying to find my.
The
Where are
psychic.
my notes on Charlotte? Oh, the psychic. Okay, yeah, because okay, so basically how that manifests is the fact that Samantha finds this man that she says he's perfect, and then the thought of that to Charlotte is like, oh my God, like even Samantha has found someone, and I don't have anyone, and I'm not in line to get married next. Like, the risk of Samantha getting married before Charlotte really scared her, I think. And so she went to a number of psychics who basically told her that marriage is not in the cards for her. And she started overthinking more and more and more. And then she eventually went to one that was like, oh, there's been a curse that's placed on you, but if you pay us an extra $100, we'll take off the curse. Which actually, at that point, she came to terms with it's not a curse, it's not that big of a deal. And that she shouldn't be worried about it. At least that's what I understood it as.
Yeah, that's what I felt as well. But now when I'm thinking about it, like, is that really what Charlotte would do? Because I feel like she can get quite obsessive with stuff, and this felt
Yeah.
more like she got very obsessed, and then they told her this, and she's like, "Oh, well, actually, that's not true." I would say that she would probably do that more than not, based
Yeah.
on her character. So I was a little
Yeah.
bit surprised there was such a sudden change in her perception, but she is a character that surprises a lot.
She is. I kind of love it because, yeah, she's quiet until she's not, and then she'll just have a fun surprise, which is cool. But, anyways, the question that I picked up on from the episode is, are relationships the religion of the 90s?
Correct?
Um,
I have the same.
cool.
We are aligned.
Awesome. Glad we're aligned. Okay, should we start with that? Like,
Yeah, I think that the term religion is the most present theme
yes.
among our four characters. Well,
Yeah.
among two of out of four. So it's definitely like a theme that we're kind of seeing in different lights. But I feel because we were quite small in the 90s, it's not the easiest question to address.
What about in our time?
And there's also, well, no, in case of Carrie, I feel like the religion aspect is almost like a class thing.
Well, I think
That
it
like
does come from that
certain
because of the
higher
church.
classes, yeah, go to a church.
And it's that specific church too, because Charlotte was like, "Oh, that's a good church."
Yeah, and I don't really know if that's still a case among these higher classes or not.
I don't know. I'm not in it, so I wouldn't really know. But
Yeah,
I also don't know if it's
we need to ask
perceived that way.
someone.
Yeah, we if anybody knows any high class people, let us
Do you
know.
know any real gossip girls? Let us know.
Let us know. Because I don't know if it is. I do know. I think from the perspective of Mr. Big, there are people that will still have religious holidays, celebrations, go to church, like basically rituals of that nature with their family because that's something that they've done since they were growing up, for example, right? And there's a continuation of their relationship through the means of going to these things.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's fair. The other thing like that came to mind, my friends and I went out on Friday, so I asked some of them, when do you first of all talk about religion in relationships and like how important is it that someone is or isn't really religious if you are going to be like dating them?
Well, I think one good thing about the apps is that most of the people will say it. And I don't really care about religion, but I would sometimes feel that because they have certain religion priorities, and I know from my not my own experience but friends,
Hmm.
it can come to a point where it might be a problem because some cultures have more religion and everyday life,
Yeah. Like how important it is in
intertwined.
someone's life. Yeah.
Yeah, like okay, I don't know much about Islam, but I know that
Hmm.
Islam is much more present for people in their lives than, for example, Christianity is. So I wouldn't say it's like something I would use to reject people, but I definitely would keep that in mind if I know that someone
Hmm.
would tell me they are, for example, following any weird religion that I never heard about. Like that would be a red flag. But
Like Christian Science.
I don't even know what that is. But I feel in the
Oh,
US there's so many different churches that
yeah. The Mormons.
so
Um,
I think when you have a done dating app and a person wants to specify that they are following, they would probably somehow show it in the profile, which is helpful because
yeah.
if you know it's not the thing for you, then you're like, okay, maybe it can't really match the vibe. I also know
No.
girls who are into religion.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think that's definitely everyone's like personal preference. The friend that I talked to, and I kind of resonate with her. She mentioned that she was brought up with religion in her life, raised religious,
Mm-hmm.
but now she's not practicing, and she's like, that's something that I'd also be okay with committing to a partner that's similar, like that sense, right? Their family might be religious, but they're not necessarily. And I think that's more common, at least among the people that I know, of there was some sort of like religious presence, but as you're becoming an adult, you're kind of figuring out the role that religion will play in your own role, in your own life. Sorry. But
Yeah.
that's the thing is like, but then my friend was like, if somebody's over religious, then that's a bit of a turn off, which is interesting as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I would say if I really like the person, it would be different than if, I meet the person for the first time, I don't know I like who they are or I have
Yeah.
zero feelings and they would say I'm super religious. I'm like, okay, probably
Yeah.
not a thing for me.
And that's the thing is like for some people I've also met, and this is maybe just because my preferences of sweet Jewish boys, love them, but I've been in.
What? That's something I didn't know.
You didn't
What?
know? Oh,
You can
I
can
love
you
me a sweet Jewish
elaborate?
boy. I just don't know what it is. It's the culture, it's how they're raised, it's like how they respect like their mother, sisters. Just the fact that we usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone else, but in the family, Jewish mothers like are oftentimes the matriarchs. And so like I love that role. But
So you
I've
just want
had
to be a
guys.
matriarch. Like you want to be a family where
I'm
you're
a
the boss.
very absolutely. I have a very strong presence about me. No, I'd love to have a family where it's like a tag team approach, but I'm still respecting the family.
Oh,
My mixture of water and fire has a lot of fire in it. But that being said, like in those kinds of relationships, I found myself it going only so far, and they're like, "Yeah, but the ultimate girl that I marry has to be Jewish," and I was like, "Why?
would
Are you
you
discriminating?" But
would
that's the
you
thing is like I had the conversation. I was like, "Me, I'm not gonna convert just for anyone." But if it's like someone that I love, because the show, what was it? The
Yes.
pot the Nobody Wants This. I kind of have the same perspective on it, even though they might have different religions. Like if it's someone that I really do have a true connection with and that I do see myself with, like if the religion is the only thing that's stopping us, and it's something like Judaism, I'd convert. I don't know.
I
I feel like
mean,
it'd be worth it.
I agree. I agree that I wouldn't convert just for anyone, but I also would
Yeah,
do it if I feel very strongly about that person. And
and if it's important to
it's
them,
definitely a problem that can be resolved.
yeah,
Whereas just there are some other things that you just can't really find a solution to if you are in a couple and like you
can't
have, for
compromise.
example,
Yeah,
yeah, like there's just no solution. Like either one of you have to accept the other's wishes and maybe be unhappy,
yeah.
or just you have to separate. But I feel religion is at the end of the day you can kind of work it through if you really
It's
feel
more
that you want
workable
to
than some
stay.
other things, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, okay, but how, if you're not on a dating app and it's not clearly saying, how early on in the relationship do you bring up religion? Or in the dating process, even?
I
Ever?
don't. That's the thing. Like I would not even talk about it as are you religious or am I religious? It's more like I would talk. I like to talk. And I like to talk about interesting things. I like
Yeah?
spirituality as like a concept more broadly. I like it. I think there are a lot of good things that we can take from it. And it would just probably like come up at some point,
Yeah.
as a topic or, conversation, maybe even connected to something else. And then I would just naturally lean into religion and I would say I'm not really religious. I have my, opinions about things, and also how I perceive it since I was a child. But that's it. And then probably I would ask, "What about you?"
Yeah.
But I would never ask like, "Are you religious?" Like it's almost
No, and I think if it is something that I also
it's
don't
not the
really
thing
bring it
also
up.
to today. Like there are mostly non-religious people or like people who are not really into it rather than are.
I think it's also younger people because I've also like met people who are like older, my parents' age, and they've rediscovered like spirituality and religion later on in life. I think it's just when you're young and you think you're gonna live forever, that doesn't come about. But the older people get, the more religious I think they get, which is interesting too. But in their 20s and 30s, I think it's quite different.
That's I don't know. Like I haven't talked to that many.
It's just what I've explored, like understood from like people
Interesting.
that I've met. But yeah,
So do
other
you
topics
talk about it? Like if you meet someone
on
new?
dates. I don't. really bring it up. I think it's usually quite evident, though, if somebody is
Yeah.
really religious, they will bring it up, or it's quite obvious. But yeah, in most cases, it's been that like, it's not as important in their life. So it will come about later on, but like, there's just something that's part of my life. It's no big deal. Like, it's not going to be a conflict in this relationship.
Yeah. Well, basically, religion, not much to be said.
Yeah,
Conclusion.
yeah. But hey, the other spicy topic is meeting
Meeting the
mothers.
mothers.
Meeting the mother, or like even parents, because in some cases people don't have mothers, like fathers, family, like close family, I would
I think
say.
it's also like as a girl, you are meeting the mother, and that's like more risky. And for guys, the like if you are a guy meeting
It's
the
the
father,
father. Yeah,
so that's
a little
always
Freudian here and there,
spicy.
but that's the thing. Charlotte's quote was like, "Getting on the good side of the mother is like closing the deal,"
Yeah, I wrote down the same.
which is interesting. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Hot takes.
Well, because I'm so great, all mothers always loved me.
I'm
I
not surprised.
I never had an issue with mothers,
Okay.
but so I can't really say how is it when it's like really bad. At the
Yeah.
same time, I mean, like for sure, mother is very important person in your partner's life, but at the same time, if there would be this clash between the mom and me, I would almost start to like calling it out because I
Hmm.
do believe that, if you are in partnership with someone and I will love my mother and love their mother, like respect, but it's ultimately about us and I will put more importance into what my partner wants than my mom for me or like for my life. And
Hmm.
if my partner doesn't do the same, I don't know if that's the right person for me then. I don't want to
Yeah.
even deal with this problem, like it's so unnecessary in my opinion. And that's like my stand. It's always been like if there would be some kind of issues that would be coming up, or I would feel there's some weird energy, I would just kind of not get involved because I don't want to even have this issue to start with. But thanks God, never happened.
Yeah.
Knocking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's definitely can be a problem, but I would say problem is always caused by two people. So there is something also about how you react to certain situations as the partner. I think that can bring, more fire to already something that is there. There's also the specifics about a very high class where probably mothers have very specific expectations for the sons. And maybe it's more
Yeah.
difficult to be
Live
perceived
up to
as a
those
good deal.
expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's also why Charlotte said it because she's coming from this type of class.
Yeah. And that's where she would like to find someone. Yeah, because she also mentioned a man who cares about his mother makes her a wonderful husband. I actually so totally agree about that. I've encountered guys who are like, I hate my mom. I have a bad relationship there. Or like same thing with sisters. Like it usually says like the guys who grow up with sisters and have a good relationship with their mom, they have a different level of respect for women just
That's
because
true.
they've seen them go through like hardships and then they understand their perspective better. So yeah, I think there's obviously a difference between a mama's boy and one that fully relies on his mother and looks for a partner that can replace that role. And then there's one that's respectful and like finds it to be a collaborative encounter.
Also, it's in a way so sad when you have to compete almost with another. Like, I just always found it so
Yeah.
unnecessary when women feel like they need to compete with each other. That's what I mean. I don't want to even be in that position. I don't need to fight with your mother. If she feels threatened, whatever, like, it's probably her problem with generally something.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me as a person.
Yeah, I've definitely had better luck with mothers of guys that I've dated who see me as their daughter, literally another child, but also someone that will potentially be in the family and they're always looking forward to, oh my God, you're going to have kids. Like, I'm going to be a part of it. It's bringing someone into your family, and that kind of positive outlook definitely makes it for a more productive
Yeah.
relationship, I'd say, rather than if it was the other way around of who did you even bring home? Like, who does she think she is kind of deal.
But one thing I definitely need to say that it's true, and I think that that's probably becoming more and more of a thing the older you get, that at some point you really think about who you are gonna present to your parents and who you will not. When I was a teenager and I would have, boyfriends, and they would sometimes come to our house, I didn't really think about it that much. Like, I didn't think about it at all because also I was so young,
Really?
like, and also I
Oh,
think my mom would be like, okay, she's being a teenager, but no one would take it like, oh, this is super serious. But I have had a few relationships now, and I have introduced a few people to my family already. So now I'm like, okay, if I go to that level, and for me, introducing someone to my family means they are flying with me to Slovakia and
right,
have to spend all the time with me there with my family because we will literally be at my home.
right.
I now think about that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
just do it so fast as I did
Really?
as a child.
I
Yeah,
still, well, maybe it's because I
as
was
a
I went to
child.
boarding school and I was like
I was a
teenager,
teenager,
child,
okay?
same thing. Like, yeah. No, but I don't know. Like, I've very, very few people that I actually dated got to meet my parents, just in general. Or even know my parents, like, I don't really tell my parents if I'm actually dating someone or not unless it's actually serious and they are going to
Yeah.
meet them. And yeah, my parents have only, I think, met two or three boyfriends. And they were, like, some of them weren't
How
even,
many like serious relationship you've had?
I've only had two, and they've only met actually one of them.
But that's what I mean because
So,
I've had, yeah, like serious, when I was 18 that was serious, but
yeah,
it was 18, but I would say like for me it was like 4 or 5.
yeah.
And at that point, when parent meets 4 or 5 people, you are like, okay, I need to kind of,
Which one is actually staying?
yeah, I don't want to go through, like, I don't want to put my mom through that again, where, she will kind of start getting you someone. Like, I understand because bringing someone to Slovakia where a lot of people will not speak to them directly English, it's a challenge in itself. And then you need to think about, okay, who you are going to introduce to a family. And, Eastern Europe, like, there are specific ways of how people will be
Yeah.
welcomed. And,
We're very
yeah.
hospitable, but like we're not gonna like roll out everything for just anyone. Like literally, it has to be someone special.
Exactly. I mean,
That's the expectation there. Okay, but then like bringing us into the next part of it of like yeah, Mr. Big's reaction of like I'm not gonna just introduce any like other new girlfriend to my mom.
that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I get his point totally. At the same time, there is definitely clear sign that they're not talking enough in a relationship
Or
because
just like
what,
communicate. There is a mismatch in understandings of what
yeah,
level of the
but
relationship they're
that's
at.
what I mean. Like, they definitely haven't had like an open communication or discussion
Yeah,
about what this is, and Carrie is in a completely different place that Mr. Big
Mr.
is.
Big is at.
Neither
Yeah,
of them are bad in itself because they didn't talk about it. It was painful to watch because I think it was hard for him to say to her as much as it was hard for her to hear that.
yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And that's the thing is like I ask my friends about it too, because and I think we talked about it in one of our like previous episodes of like being introduced like by your partner as a friend. Like I think I mentioned before, I personally hate it. Like
Yeah.
just say their name. Like you don't have to like be that serious about it. But then my friend, I asked her, she's like, "What do you mean? I introduce guys to my friends all the time."
I said the same. Like, I would always say this is my friend.
Oh
Like,
God.
unless I don't, like, because you also skip a lot of questions afterwards. Imagine like you would
Yeah.
introduce someone to your mom as a friend. That's it. She will not think about it more.
My mom will still, knowing my mother, like I could tell her about like a guy that's within my friend group or something, and she'll think something is going on. She's like,
No,
"Are you guys in love?" And I was like, "Mom, like we're friends." Like she's like, "But like, what kind of friends?" And I was
but
like, "So I was like,
is she correct usually, or she's
I
just
mean, sometimes she's not wrong. Sometimes I'm like, I do find that person like, I don't know, cute or something. So I'm just like,
thing? Like,
Mom,
it's also very easy to read you.
oh,
Like, if you like
oh,
someone, I don't think my mom. First of all, she probably didn't think about it that much, but I also think that she
oh,
didn't know. I would keep my stuff always very private. I remember that was when I was like a teenager. I would be going out with a guy for a year,
oh, wow,
and quite often, right? And I would
yeah.
never tell her this is my boyfriend. It would always be a friend. in front of
So
her.
when
And
you
she,
hung out with him and you were like going somewhere else, what did you tell her? I'm gonna go
well,
with my
I
friends.
also didn't tell her many times because
Okay.
she used to do shifts. She's
Working
a
mom, very
doctor,
hard.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like a lot of times she would not be home before I left, and I came home, and she still wouldn't be home. So there were like a lot of times where she didn't even know I met someone.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, I would hang out with that person, but she didn't ask. And then at
Yeah.
some point, I think I would tell her, yeah, we are kind of dating, but it would be so, so later from
That's
when
fair.
I actually start seeing the person.
Okay, but what if you're like, what if we flip the situation? So, well, let's say, like, yeah, kind of a Carrie and Big situation. They've been dating for like, what, 4 or 5 months now? And there is no mention of like him talking to his family. I guess Mr. Big's kind of a weird example, right? I don't like he's in his 40s. And like, it's not like he's going to be reporting back to his parents. And like, I don't see him as someone who's very close to his family. But let's say, because I've like been
Mm.
in a situation where someone is like in close communication with their family. And at what point in the relationship do you think like you'd find it weird if they did not even tell their family about you or introduce you to their family?
It's very specific. I think that the way the relationship develops is very unique.
Yeah.
With some people, it would go very fast, very intense, and you kind of feel it between each other, and like things just make sense. With others, as I said, like I sometimes would take very long time to feel like this is something, deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine for me, like 1 year. Yeah, it's
A year in.
no, I mean, like in that case, it was just, we were also 16. Like you would hang out with that
Yeah.
person as a friend for a long time. At some point, you realize that maybe it's something more. And then it would just like, you would not feel like you need to rush things. Or
Yeah.
I don't really have a need to introduce you to my mom, or, I like what we have. And I don't need to involve my family into it because it doesn't seem making much change.
Okay.
So I think the problem happens when this is not aligned. Like you have very different
Yeah.
expectations from each other, and you kind of can sense that the person doesn't want to introduce you to their family because we are not on the same page in terms of how we feel about the relationship. That's where I would say the problem is. But the time that you take to like introduce each other to your family, I think it very depends. Do they live in the same city as you? Do they live in the same country as you? How often do you see each other?
Yeah, there are a
Are
lot
you
of
in
factors
long
that will play into that
distance
for sure, for
or
sure.
not?
I think there's obviously a difference because let's say, yeah, in my past relationship, I did not live in the same country as their parents, right? But they still would know about me. They'd still like, ask about me every time they maybe FaceTime their parents. I'd be in the background being like, "Hi." It's not like we're that close or anything else, but they know I exist.
Right.
Which I think like still like because to me it was a serious relationship and it signaled a level of commitment if they did introduce me to their family. Obviously, it depends how close they are with their family in general. Do they even discuss these things? But I would be, for example, I'd be really worried if I was in a relationship for, let's say, like 6 months. We've officially been together half a year, and if they're close to their family, they've not mentioned me at all. That would make me worry about how serious or genuine are they about me. Because if
Hmm.
I've been fully genuine and serious, and that's not this reciprocated, that would raise
I don't
alarms.
think I've ever mentioned anyone I've been dating for 6 months to my mom.
Interesting.
That's what I'm telling you. I think they're different people, and this is something we're definitely not the same.
Fair.
It's like too early for me to talk
Too
about
early.
someone I'm dating with my mom and
Yeah.
introduce her to that dynamic. 6 months for sure is too early.
Okay.
But there is a
What it
factor that she lives in a different country than I do.
right, no, for sure, for sure. And it's not
But
like
I
you go
think,
over and hang out with her every single week, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. But I think it's about how you are as a person. I would keep a lot of things within myself, like what's happening in my daily life, or like talk about shit with friends. But
Yeah.
I would not talk to my mom. Oh, I am heartbroken from this situation that lasted 6 months or whatever, 3 months.
Right.
I would kind of deal
Find
with
other
it
channels
myself.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
exactly.
sure.
So 6 months, I don't know. That sounds pretty early still to me.
Oh.
Oh, you would not like me as your boyfriend.
Oh, that's okay. That's why we make such good friends. We give each other perspectives to understand why people
Yeah.
are
So
sometimes not
if
where
they
they are.
don't, it's fine. Don't worry. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like in this case, there have been a lot of other red flags that we've seen throughout the episode. This is not like if this would be the only thing that about to happen, I would be like, okay, Carrie's maybe a little bit overacting here. But
No,
because
there've been other things. Yeah.
yeah,
Also, we should probably also mention that I know we're coming to the end of the episode, probably should answer the question sometime soon. But essentially she ends things with Vic here. So
yeah,
he comes to pick her up from her apartment, getting all of her stuff. They're about to get in a taxi to go to the airport, and she's like, I can't do this. You're not in love with me. And so
he
she just breaks it off.
because he didn't agree that she's the one, which I totally get. Like, if you feel like you are not getting all you need, and I think she finally realized, okay, there is clearly a mismatch between what I think this is and what
They
he
had very
thinks
different
this is.
expectations.
And
Yeah.
you know, she was just living in her idea of what this was, or maybe he was not really wanting to accept as much how much this is important to him, whatever. This was a very important question, and I applaud her for asking that, making that instant decision. That's very difficult. So I finally say, good job, Carrie. She faced the situation as
Shit-face.
it was
Yeah.
rather than being kissed by him and be like, okay, everything is resolved.
Yeah, which was like 3 episodes in a row. That was frustrating. I'll give you that. Like, but it's just still such one huge ending for season one. Because
Yeah.
we basically see this relationship unfold. But yeah, but don't you worry, Mr. Big will make a re-entry. So
Sometimes you need to go through like hurtful period with someone to eventually get to very strong bond with them.
oh, ideally not. But in this case, I think it is slightly different because there were things that were not communicated. And this is another thing. I had to actually put this on my vision board, but I had a friend tell me you have to do things out of love, not out of fear. And this is like where I sadly resonate with Carrie. Even in the most recent dating stories that I've had recently, I was doing things out of fear. I was asking questions because I'm scared, and it's not that I'm coming from a place of love. And I think it was the same thing with Carrie. She was acting out and overthinking because she was so afraid of these scenarios playing out in the way that she thought they would. And so she was not acting out of confidence, love, and even love for herself in this case, right? Like
Very
she,
powerful thing you said. Not even for like romantic things, but in general.
in general, like things in your life, in your professional life, how you act and hold yourself. And that again, my friend is
And
super
like
wise,
not acting out of fear. I need to write this
not
down
out
on a
of fear.
reflection tab because
No, but it makes so much sense because I even come into, let's say, even performance reviews at work.
yeah.
I'm always like, have a list of things that I'm afraid of. I don't have a list of strengths that I'm currently developing, and here's what I've actually grown. I'm coming from what did I do wrong? And it's the same thing with Carrie and Big. She's like, I'm not the one, but that wasn't the question. It was almost like from Big's perspective, and we obviously see how he plays out, but he wasn't even considering that. Like, for him, that was too soon to even think about it. He was easing into the relationship
I mean,
much slower than she was.
he's. I don't even know if he was looking for that relationship anymore. She was like he is older than her. He was married already. Maybe what he
Yeah,
was looking for is just have fun and companionship. She was looking for a proper relationship that will
yeah.
have marriage in it and monogamous
She almost had a
whatever.
timeline. Like,
Yeah, but that makes sense. She is in her 30s and that's 10 years younger probably than he is. And I get it. My mom she met someone a few years ago and the way that their relationship is evolving, I don't understand a lot of things about it because to me, there are some questions I would ask immediately or some things that I want from the partner. She just doesn't need it anymore because she has had kids, she has job, and it's kind of like she's more or less at the end of her career rather than the beginning.
yeah,
She has developed whatever she wanted to, and now really she just wants someone to kind of have good time with. But she doesn't have a life. She doesn't need a life partner, which is something that I'm looking for, or you are looking for, right? Like
yeah.
potentially father of your kids, or someone that you will go through a lot of different.
I'm
I think
recruiting for a group project here.
no, I mean, it's completely different type of things that you're looking for when you are in your 20s and when you're in your 50s. So I think that's what's happening here as well. He is in different stage of his life, probably than she is, and what he was looking for, I don't think was what she was looking for, but they just didn't talk about it enough.
Definitely.
And also, she asks, when can you meet your mother? And he was like, oh, I don't want you to meet my mother. Let's go for holidays instead. I'm like, what the hell is this?
That's like boy math. What can I distract her with?
Yeah. Like, I was like, seriously? What just
Kind of
happened?
wild. It's kind of wild. All right, what conclusion can we come to out of this? What are we closing the episode
Yeah.
out? What are we closing the season with?
So I'm just reading my notes. And her conclusion at the end of this episode was, I do have a fate in myself, fate that one day I meet someone who will be sure that I was the one. Love that. I mean, like, that's very girls, not girls boss, but like, you know what you want and you should not settle for less. It doesn't really answer the question.
No, that's a Carrie typical thing. If she asks one question and answers a completely different one.
So I like what she said at the end of. I think it's also more like a conclusion of the whole season. So going back to the original questions, are relationships religion of the 90s? Which, by the way, I don't think we even answered or somehow touched upon, because what the hell? Like, it's a kind of question we can't really answer at this point. But if we translate it to our relationships religion of the 2020s,
2020s. Yeah. The 20s.
No.
The new 20s.
I don't think so. I think sometimes it's a numbers game. Rather than religion.
The religion of statistics at this point. I don't even know if it is. Like, I still think we still have the same fascination of wanting to find companionship, whether it's just to go out and go have fun. But there is still like that need. Is it a religion? I wouldn't put it. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not spiritually in a relationship.
This question wasn't that great.
No, it's not. It's not my favorite. Not as spicy as I want it to be. I think that we've learned quite a few things this season. Had some spicy takes. I'm excited for the next season. Like, that it should unfold in different ways.
The new way of Carrie opens up.
She has character growth. Okay, let's just put it that way.
It's clearly season 2.
It's clearly season 2. Is that where we also meet the Yankee? I remember like that was like one of the first things that they do is like they go for a Yankees game. I'm excited for that.
She's going for it in that episode. It might be the first also.
I think it is. Yeah. Because then Samantha again brings up the micro penis.
Which we didn't talk about a lot this episode.
Yes.
Next time.
We'll bring it up in the next one. Don't worry. Like, catch up in season 2. Anything else to bring up? Any other reflections?
Well, I think that we did a little bit of too much yapping at the beginning of 20 minutes.
Well, apologize for that. My goodness. We're still talking about the modern lives of the girls in the cities and our problems.
True. And the housing market is, I think, a very important factor for anyone who lives in a big city. Or a city.
Yeah, trying to find a place to live. And all I really want is like a good place for my dog.
All I really want is a cat.
Yeah, no, my dog is like my 7-year-old child. He sits in the bag all the time. I just want a place for Marvin where he's going to be happy.
That's so sweet. You will be a great mom one day. You are already a great mom. Sorry.
To a dog.
Yeah.
I think he has a good life.
Oh, he definitely has a good life.
I try my best.
And he doesn't have to make any decisions because you do it for him.
And he's just like, even right now, where is he? Oh, he's like half asleep all the time. He's in a sweater now.
He looks like a teddy bear.
Yeah, unless he's angry that he's a real dog. Cool. Well, anyways, thanks everyone for joining. We'll be back with season 2 next time.
Have a nice evening, day, weekend, week, whenever you listen to us, and we will speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.